Hello, hello. Welcome to our weekly Wednesday webinar. This should be interesting since you haven't heard me present in quite a while. It's been several months, but I have been getting a lot of requests on, okay, Ernie, we're very excited to learn about these little tips and tools, but how about a big picture strategy? All these little tools are great, but I need a higher level look at how to really integrate technology during not only online learning, but as we prepare to go back into the classroom. So let's talk about that. And those of you who do not know me, my name is Ernie Delgado, and let me make my camera available to you. And I've actually been in edtech, going on 28 years now. It's been a while, and it's a passion of mine. And I've seen lots of things come and go. And right now we're going through a state, and just in education in general, that is just unprecedented. Now, good news, bad news. A lot of schools that did do a lot of preparation before the COVID-19 pandemic, maybe you guys went one-to-one, maybe you were using Google Classroom or some other LMS, or maybe you were using both. You were better prepared for this than most other people. And so congratulations, you did it. You were prepared for something that no one else was even preparing for. So, that was a really big help for those of you who did that. And a lot of you had to scramble, and some of you are still scrambling. And now it's time to start considering unwinding it and going back into the classroom. I know my son's school here in Southern California, next week, the entire school is going to be coming back. A lot of restrictions, a lot of guidelines. We're not going to get into details on that. What we're going to really talk about here is how do we make sure our school is prepared for online instruction, and how do we make sure we're prepared for in-class instruction, and how do we prepare for a hybrid model if that's what we need to do. So let's get to it. Those of you who are interested in actually getting some support, feel free to visit our website, beyondk12.com, and find the free school analysis button. And, for no charge, we'd be happy to spend some time talking to you about your situation, about where you are and where you want to go. And we can give you some tips and strategies on how to do that. And if you have not been attending our Wednesday webinars, boy, oh boy, have you missed a lot of great stuff. And we've had some top-notch educators come in and talk about all the different tools. And as many of you who have been following us over the several months we've been doing these free webinars, we wanted to make all of this free information. It's starting a couple weeks after the pandemic began, and we just wanted to be a resource, and we've been continuing to do that. Now, the challenge here is that a lot of the content that we have been developing for you is all on our Facebook group, and I'll give you the link for that later. And be aware, I know that a lot of you aren't big Facebook fans, and I understand why. We are moving to a YouTube channel. So Keon, if you're listening, we need to get that YouTube channel up because we want to point you all there. It'll be easier to share and collaborate and get this information to you versus the Facebook group. But if you are interested, all these videos are available, and I'll give you the link after the presentation so you could see that. But really, what we have done is identified the strategies involved to really transition to online. And a lot of you have already done that. So a lot of you are wondering, okay, how do we untransition? How do we transition back or to a hybrid model? Because, there's still a lot of uncertainty. The area that really is the most challenging part is number 6, and that's just making sure that curriculum is done differently. And from creating new videos to finding new resources to make sure everyone's trained, that is an important piece, and all the other stuff kind of falls into place around that. But these are things that we specialize in and that we would be happy to help you with. But let's jump into this. A technology plan for going back to school or staying remote or somewhere in between. None of us knows for certain, but we have been doing this for many years. And in fact, I'm not going to say it looked exactly like this, but classrooms really haven't changed much. And so, we've tried to help schools move to the next level and really prepare for what students are all about. And students are more innovative and flexible and technology enabled today more than ever. And we're finding that teachers are ready to do this more than ever. And this has always been the bottleneck. The challenge is getting 30 teachers at a school with 30 different technology levels all on the same trajectory moving forward. That's tough, but we have actually learned a few things that make it easier. Okay, I'll be honest, it makes it easier, but I will say that it's easier now than it ever has been. And there's a couple of things that really drive this, and that's just changing a landscape for our students. Their future is going to be so different, and that's actually been our company tagline for a while: preparing students for a very different future. It's different now. Imagine what it's going to be like in 5 to 10 years. It's just going to be ridiculously different. And some of the things that we could touch today that we know are creating some of that change, automation, AI, robotics, the 5G networks that are being installed. There's just so many exciting developments happening right in front of us. We're living in a magical time, and we want to make sure that students are comfortable with these things. And I understand a lot of these aren't practical to be covered in an elementary or middle school, in some cases not even a high school, but students need to start understanding what are some of the innovations happening in our world that could really impact their lives tremendously. And let me tell you why this is happening. And some of you have heard me talk about this before, but I think it's an important concept to understand. And it's the concept of exponential growth. And that's happening with innovation. That's been happening for the last several years. And if you kind of look at this little hockey stick curve that's taking place, we are at the base of a huge trajectory upward and just change. There's stuff that we know about. I mentioned a couple things. We know about these things. There's probably 1,000 things we don't even know about that are happening in industrial parks around the world, in tech centers, in universities, in garages around the world, that just is going to add to this innovation explosion. And what's interesting about the exponential growth concept is that it's not 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 2 is 8, and we're gradually, innovating upwards. No, 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 no. It's way more dramatic than that. It's 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 16 is 256. 2 more iterations, and it's a number that I don't even know what that number is. Is that 16? No, the other 281 zillion? Where are my math people? Well, I don't even know that number. But real quickly, we're talking 6 iterations. We're at a whole nother level of innovation, and that's what's happening right now. And so we're seeing the application of this innovation in certain areas. I mean, we've all been watching technology evolve. We have this supercomputer in our hand called a mobile telephone that thing freaks me out how much it knows and does. And there's more power in that phone than on the first rocket that went to the moon. That's the kind of technology explosion we're having. And I'm sure you've heard that analogy. But I mentioned, I'm talking about this exponential growth because I want to apply it to our world in education. And because education doesn't grow exponentially. In fact, if you look at innovation in the classroom, it grows very slowly, more linear, more flat. And there's not these big, huge explosions in innovation, although things are way better today than they were a year ago or 10 years ago. But I do see that a lot of the innovation it's not equal. It's not, every school in America does not have the same resources and strategies in place. And that's a challenge that we need to deal with. But bigger picture, exponential increases are going through the roof, and education is maintaining their kind of slow growth. That's just data that shows us without a doubt the world is moving faster than we could teach. And that's just a fact of the matter. So how do we deal with that when we know that our students are going to require skill sets that we aren't even talking about in school, yet we should be, getting them prepared. How do we do that? Um, how do we teach better, faster? Is that possible? Can it be done? Well, I will tell you that it's easier today than it was 10 years ago. The technology available, and again, I'm an ed tech guy. I'm gonna keep coming back to my baby ed tech, and I'm gonna keep telling you the answers are there. The answers are in your Chromebook, they're in your iPad, they're in your laptop, they're in our MLSs, and now we just have to create strategies and methods and modify our teaching and curriculum delivery approaches a little differently to use these tools. They're amazing tools. We've been gifted with these amazing technologies, and I've seen some teachers just do some amazing stuff, next level stuff. I've actually, and this is a true story, I've seen some teachers in this online technology world that are teaching better. I know a lot of you are saying, how is that possible? It's a whole nother way of interacting with students, and the technology gives students a visual and audio opportunity and ways to collaborate and manipulate that you can't do in a classroom at the same way. And so we've seen these celebrity educators emerge that they don't want to go back to the classroom. they like teaching in their robe. I'm excited. They're not teaching in their robe, but they like the fact that they found a way to teach, in a different way, and it appeals to them. It appeals to their students, and they found tips and tricks and tools. And it's all about content creation and being animated and yeah, being a little more technical, getting outside of your comfort zone, learning the tools. All the videos we've been doing are all these different tools that you could use. And what you have available, oftentimes for free, is just next level stuff, awesome stuff. And so, we always encourage teachers, get outside of your comfort zone, um, and try to figure out how you can reinvent yourself and learn, understand the online learning realities and how you can do that, and really identify ways in which the tech can improve teaching and can improve learning. And using the technology environments we have available for us. Again, oftentimes these are free tools, and apply them to what we know and love, and make mistakes. That's going to happen. Make mistakes and figure it out and move forward. But here's a couple things, couple big trends, I guess you could say. And some of this is real obvious stuff, but I want to make sure that we're all clear on why we're at where we're at today. Technology explosion. This has been happening for the last foreseeable past 10 years or so. Technology has been exploding. We've all heard of Moore's law, which microprocessing powered doubles every 18 months, 16 and 18 months. Yes, that's happened. And with that, processing power has led to that innovation and explosion we just talked about. So that's happening. But something super cool that we've identified is that the fastest growing group of users are adults, ages 36 to 65. You may fit in that category or very close to that. Now, the reason why that's a really important statistic is that represents a majority of teachers in America. And I want to try to say this kindly. I'm going to say it kindly because there's a lot of veteran teachers out there, and there's all this technology, but the bottleneck where things have been breaking down is with teachers getting comfortable using technology to its utmost. I mean, yes, it's easy to watch videos on the computer. It's easy to send out a digital worksheet, but to really be innovative and use the technology better and create and invent. If you've ever heard of the SAMR model, supplement and then modify and eventually recreate. There's all these amazing things you could do to just knock it out of the park with your students. And that's because technology is exploding, and you as mature teachers have learned that this stuff is really powerful, and you can be reinvented as an educator and do some amazing things. Now I will say that there's still a disconnect. This is not automatic. This isn't 100%. If you have a staff, let's say I use the number 30. If you have a staff of 30 teachers, 10 years ago, one or two of those teachers were, self-taught techie teachers. 5 years ago, maybe a third. Today, we're finding maybe a half or a little more than a half of a teaching staff is really doing substantial stuff. And you still have a couple, off the charts, but it's rarely, if ever, have I seen 100% of teachers just knocking it out of the park with technology. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. We're getting close. Teachers understand the value, and they realize this is part of who I am as an educator. The other big trend I've touched on is just the skill sets required for the future. Business and industry realize that K-12 and higher education are maybe not going to be able to supply enough skilled labor, smart technology, problem solving, collaborative people to keep these innovations moving forward. They're kind of hedging their bets. They want to import more skilled labor from other countries. I think we have a great opportunity as a nation, as educators, to be part of that solution, to create the knowledge worker of tomorrow. We don't really have a choice. We are still the greatest country in the history, the greatest time in the history of the world, with amazing innovations taking place all day, every day. And we have not only do we have the opportunity, but we have we must create knowledge workers to keep that domination. Is that a good word? Let me find a better word. To keep that trend, that positive trend of technology innovation and just the United States spirit, how we love to grow and innovate. We could keep keeping that fresh with smart people, because we have the opportunity. We have the tools in place, and make sure that we are doing our part to keep the economy growing and thriving. Now, something else that happened, and I kind of touched on it at the very beginning of the webinar, and that's the fact that the one-to-one computing model, if you guys did that a couple years ago, you were prepared better than most for this, unfortunate situation of distance learning. Now, if you haven't done that, or you don't think you did it well enough, or you think you need to redo it, in either situation, it is now time. If you've been waiting, stop waiting. Every one of your students needs a device. And, now more than ever, there are ways to do it cost effectively. Laptops, $600 to $1,000 a piece, iPads, $400 to $600, $800 a piece, Chromebooks, $200 to $400 a piece. That's kind of where things have landed. Now, we work with all devices, Mac, PC, iPad. I can honestly say that we do probably 80% of our activities with Chromebooks and the Google G Suite operating system, our operating environment with Google Classroom. We work with all other stuff as well, but that's the dominant platform because it's the most cost effective. And I've mentioned it a few times. There's a lot of free stuff, and Google makes it free. Are they collecting your data? I don't know. Probably. But so is everybody else. Your phone, if you ever look at how many people are collecting data from your cell phone, your smart TVs, your browser, I mean, it's an issue. It's definitely an issue, but I don't know that there's any way around it in this day and age. Even if you pay for tools, they're collecting data. So anyway, I don't want to get into that, but the Chromebook is a nice environment. So let me clear my throat real quick. We have developed a solution. We call it SwimGrid, school-wide integration model. Some of you have heard of it. Some of you are actually using the model or parts of the model, and it really makes a whole lot of sense. So let me share it with you real quick. 5 parts, real simple. Number 1, train, assess, train, and support classroom teachers. This is just common sense, right? This has to happen. Don't just give teachers and all the students a bunch of technology and then assume they're just going to figure it out. Please don't do that. That's just not fair. Or is it effective? Or is it practical? it's going to cause a bunch of problems. You need to make sure they're ready to go. And maybe it's not all teachers all at the same time. Maybe you phase it in. Go with the low hanging fruit first, those ones that are excited and already kind of ready, and then start training everyone else and gradually bring them on and bring everyone up to speed eventually. But a lot of people overlook a really strong strategic professional development model that checks all the boxes. And I'm not just talking about how to turn it on, but the applications they're going to use, and then more importantly, how do they apply those applications to teaching and learning? I know a lot of young teachers that are very computer friendly, but no one ever shared with them how they could actually use those tools in the classroom. One thing that we are noticing is that there is a ton of video resources, some of it free. Oftentimes the free stuff is obsolete. We don't encourage you to go with free all the time, unless it's really new and it's from someone you trust. Sometimes you want to pay for a course and just get brought up to speed quickly. Now, 10 years ago, a lot of teachers didn't like video instruction or online web-based instruction. Today, especially with COVID and the fact that we've had to become Zoom friendly, this is probably the biggest change our industry has seen in a long time, and that's web-based instruction and web-based professional development. And sometimes it's just direct instruction or course-based, but either way, make sure your teachers are fed and make sure they have current stuff. Don't always go for free and cheap, because a lot of times it's obsolete information that makes the problem worse rather than better. Number 2 is students and student technology curriculum, computer science in particular. It's not just, it's not your students need to have a variety of skills. They need to understand how to edit a document. They need to understand formulas in a spreadsheet. They need to understand how to sort information with a database. They need to know how to lay out information in a presentation tool or a desktop publishing tool. They need to learn how to collaborate and share data through Google Drive or Dropbox or some other form. They need to understand how to say no and avoid creeps online, because that's a thing. They need to know how to turn in and accept information digitally. They need to know how to take paper and turn it into digital, turn digital into paper. There's so many things that students need. And we actually have a scope and sequence, K through 8, and then we have a separate one for high school, of 12 major technology areas. I wish I had a picture to show you right now, but it starts in kindergarten, and each year the skills just get more and more advanced. In our opinion, by 8th grade, your students should have it all figured out. They should not need to learn technology. By 8th grade, they should be going into high school very computer literate and all the computer science skills, and they're now innovating and learning more specific stuff like programming or web design or video editing or music making, whatever it is. K-8, they should have it all. Actually, in our model, most schools have it handled by 5th or 6th grade, and middle schools just fine tuning it. So we'd be happy to share that scope of sequence with you. It meets almost all of the state standards. We just did a crosswalk with the California computer science standards. We blew it out of the water. So ask us about that. We'd be happy to share it with you. The third one is classroom integration. And this is where, okay, you have all this technology, you have this amazing curriculum. How does technology and curriculum come together? Whose job is it to figure that out? Now, a lot of you have textbooks that come with digital resources. Awesome. But sometimes that's not what you want. Sometimes you want something more fun or maybe more practical based on the level of your teacher, or maybe something that's more timely. Like we have Earth Days coming up. Maybe you want something specific to a thing that you could really rally around. And that's where classroom lesson integration comes in. And this is where we help you develop custom lessons. And we really just sit down, partner with your teachers by grade or subject, and create fresh, unique content, video, collaborative, all the tools you want involved. And we do the heavy lifting, and we bring it to you on a silver platter. So it saves a bunch of time. For teachers that don't know how to integrate lesson plans, this is an answer to prayer. We are now providing you with amazing content. And for teachers that are already doing this and spending way too much time, we're taking it off their plate. It's a great solution for so many reasons. And then fourth and fifth, sometimes these things are overlooked, but obviously we need to talk about technology. We do offer something called a tech check. It's hour to 2 hours, depending on the size of your campus, and we'll come out if you're local to the Southwest or Southern California in particular, and we'll come and look at your infrastructure, your environment, make recommendations on network upgrades, access points, classroom technology, presentation systems, dot cameras, devices, your agreements with parents, your agreements with students, all these things we could help you kind of fine tune. And then we also provide IT support for schools that need like a day or 2 or 3 a week. We do that like in an outsource. And I should also mention that we outsource computer teachers. I have a lot of schools that they don't have that critical mass of teachers able to do this. They still want a specialist. We have 15 computer teachers on staff, and they'll work a day there, 3 days here, 2 days there, maybe right for us. So we have college graduates with teaching credentials that are amazing technology educators that we kind of outsource for you. So that's something we do. And then project management, someone just to keep the balls going, someone like a juggler, to keep everything going forward, to interface with your families, to interface with your teachers. We'll come out and do parent nights, fundraisers, back to schools. I can't tell you how much golf I play. But just to recap, the professional development's a huge part. Popular modules, Google, obviously, Microsoft, Apple tools, we do all of it. It all starts with an assessment, so we can really find out what teachers need and want, and kind of drive the professional development from that. We used to have a course, a binder, and we got rid of that. I mean, it was necessary if you needed college credit, CEUs, but it was kind of a big waste of time because there's so many things that the universities required that teachers really don't need that stuff. So the assessment-based approach we find is way more effective. Teachers respond to the assessment better. It's not as overwhelming as the other, and it gets right down to what they need. And we know this because there's been some amazing research on teachers' needs and demands and wants, and this is something Edudemic, you may have heard of that educational publication, but they asked teachers, do you think technology is important? Most teachers said yes. 96% yes, it increases student engagement. Yes, it's absolutely essential. The next set of questions, okay, if you think it's so important, are you using it the way you say it should be used? And the numbers dropped. Only 14% were using digital curriculum. 92% said they needed to use it more. And the ones that were using it effectively were spending way too much time. So it comes back. Remember that curriculum integration part? We really help solve that problem because some of your teachers are spending way too much time to create content, and that's great. Some of them love it, some of them don't, but we could actually partner with you and get it done way more efficiently, consistently from grade to grade, teacher to teacher, and really help you lock in a vision for integration and have a flow, and outsource some of that development to our team to make sure it's just done in a first class way, and helps you progress, because really this is the next big thing you need to keep in mind. I'm not sure, back in the day, a big thing was technology plans. If you wanted if the district was going to provide you with the cart of Chromebooks for your classroom, or if your school board was going to raise funds for a new computer lab, you had to develop a technology plan. I can't tell you how many technology plans I've written in my career, and it always comes down to the same things. It comes down to what I'm sharing with you right now. These are the things the technology plan will ask and answer, and one of them is just progression. I mean, what are we supposed to be teaching? Now, we have a scope and sequence, which is a much more detailed document, based on this information here that I encourage you to get your hands on. But understand, when you should be doing what. Now, level 4 stuff, pretty cool stuff. I mean, and I bring that up because things like maker spaces, I'm not sure that's going to be a thing anymore, just because of the touching and COVID, and we've all been reprogrammed to be very aware of that. You remember how people are like afraid of spiders? Somewhere in the past, we had a spider epidemic, and now we're all freaked out by spiders or snakes. Now it's going to be virus. We're all going to be virus. I can't walk by one of those little squirt bottles for hands. I can't walk by one. I'm programmed to sanitize as often as possible. So some things are going to change. Sharing stuff at schools is going to change. And so makerspaces is going to be a tough one. Same thing with robotics, a lot of touching. It might be personal kits versus sharing. I mean, we're gonna have to rethink a lot of this stuff, but these level 4 items, I really want to point this out because a lot of schools that I consult with, this is their area of focus. We're gonna enter these robotics competitions, and we have a coach, and we have all this donated money to buy all this stuff and travel, and that's awesome. But can your kids edit a document? Can your students do practical things with a spreadsheet and a database program? Can they do complex problem solving? Do they understand how to collaborate with others? I mean, there's other more important things than that. Yes, I like those things, but you need to have a solid foundation, word processing, spreadsheets, databases, searching on the internet, all these things, file management, digital citizenship. Really, all that should start in kindergarten. And when you get into middle school, yeah, some of these things, robotics, I think VR is going to be a big thing in the next year or two. Rocketry is kind of cool. And then level 5 stuff, I'm not sure that this is going to happen in a K-12 environment. I don't think we're going to be editing genes anytime soon. But again, we need to make sure students are aware of these things. And by doing a curriculum-driven approach, computer science-driven approach, which we could help you with, can make sure that happens. So we have our K-8 technology curriculum. That's actually our old version. I should update that image. K through 8, it's a weekly computer lesson. It can be handled by a teacher or a computer teacher or a specialist, someone technical, someone who understands curriculum. Probably wouldn't put it in the hands of a brand new teacher who's never used technology, but it could come with training and support, and so it could work with anybody. CEO Challenge is for middle school and high school. How do you start a company? What are the tools required to be an entrepreneur? Awesome stuff. CEO Marketing, now that you have a company, how do you market it? Digital advertising, pay-per-click stuff, graphic design, all that fun stuff to market. And then creating change, developing solutions, we call it CCDS because that's easier to say. It's about creating an awareness campaign where students learn about nonprofit work and changing people's opinions on stuff in a positive way. Yeah, positive, real news. That's what we're trying to accomplish with that course, and schools love it. But our K-8 computer science curriculum, it's thematic. It's based on themes like character, being a good listener, being thankful, self-control, financial responsibility, digital responsibility. All the projects and lessons are there for a teacher or a computer teacher. It's good stuff based on a scope and a sequence. And then, of course, I mentioned the integrated lessons. Sit back, relax, let us do the heavy lifting. Usually it requires a little scoping where we'll meet with teachers for 15, 20, 30 minutes, talk about their lesson plans, and then we pump out something cool, share it with them, and they say yes, no, we revise it, or we send it off. And then everything is stored in a digital locker environment, either their Google G Suite or Basecamp or Drop. Make sure all the data is saved and there forever. If a teacher leaves, that data is there. We have it and help you control all that data. I mentioned IT support. We have a team of friendly computer technicians. They speak English. They don't speak computerese. They're very down to earth, friendly people, fingerprinted. And if you need an IT support person a day or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, we can help you. And then project management. We have kind, happy people that know this stuff inside and out. They're great communicators. They love talking to teachers. They love talking to parents. They love talking to board members, administrators, and of course, students. So this is actually an interesting role that we play because we have found that sometimes you have school administration, teachers, and you have parents. and everyone kind of has a different objective. And our project managers somehow kind of get behind the curtain and kind of figure out what everyone's ultimate goal is, and is able to create a better version of a technology approach and make the school awesome. It's kind of a knack of theirs, and they're real good at it. Anyway, these are the 5 parts. We've gone over them thoroughly. I don't want to spend too much more time. It's been about a half an hour. But if you want to see this at your school, look us up. I showed you how earlier. There's, we're kind of in that, board proposal presentation stage. We have plenty of time to get something set up for next school year. Now is golden opportunity to pick our brain and let us put together a vision for you that will get you going later this school year, or ideally get it set up over the summer. But we need to start talking now. Today would be perfect. Call me. Here's my phone number, 888-283-3213, extension 720. Yes, we still use telephones. And then you can email me, Ernie@beyondk12.com. I mentioned that if you want to watch this video, I will have it downloaded and uploaded to Facebook this evening. So if you have Facebook, search for Classroom Technology User Group, CTUG, Classroom Technology User Group. Sign up, and you, not only do you have access to this video tonight, but all of the other videos that we've been doing since the beginning of COVID are all there for free for now. I would watch them sooner than later because we are considering putting them behind a paywall, but for now they're free. Anyway, I appreciate your time, and we've really been going through some tough times, and we're here to support you. Right now, a lot of schools around the country are talking about going back to the classroom. Some of them already have. Many of them already have. And my son's actually been back to school for about a month now. There hasn't been any problems. They're really diligent, and when he shows up at school, they check his temperature. He cleans his hands. We're all programmed to do that now. They wear masks all day. I have to remind him to take his mask off now. He just wears it around the house all day. It's like, take your mask off. You're at home. You're okay now. But I have found that the schools and districts, private, public, charter, that we're working with have really figured it out. So I know a lot of teachers are concerned. I don't blame you. But, the vaccine is available. Hopefully if you haven't already received it, you're in line for it. So if anyone's watching this video in the future, now you know the time we're talking about. We're at the beginning of March 2021, and things are looking good. I feel comfortable saying that things are looking. Deaths are down, cases are down. Texas just opened wide up. We'll see how that goes. I hope the best for them. And California, is starting to loosen up where we're based out of. But anyway, I'll let you go. I appreciate your time, folks, and hang in there. And if we could help, please let us know. Have a great day.